Welcome back to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman. Two courts have struck down voter ID laws in two states ahead of the November elections. Courts have rejected Republican-backed voter ID laws in Texas and Wisconsin. U.S. District Court judge in Texas said the law creates an unconstitutional burden on the right to vote. The Texas Attorney General, who, oh, by the way, is running for governor, says he will appeal. The decision in Wisconsin came down from the U.S. Supreme Court. Three conservative justices, Alito, Scalia, and Thomas, offered the only dissents. But it turns out voter ID isn't just confined to other parts of the country. Surprisingly, Connecticut requires all registered voters to present a valid photo ID at the polls if they want to cast a ballot. I want to get into the merits of voter ID because it has been sold to everybody as a way to protect the ballot from fraud, in-person voter fraud. That TJ shows up to the polls, says, my name is Andrew Whitman, I'm going to vote, and then he comes back and he votes as TJ McCormick. First of all, don't do that anymore. Second of all, I mean, the studies have shown that this barely even exists. Is there any rationale behind voter ID laws except disenfranchising minorities in the poll? I'm looking this way.
Go ahead.
for
I'm
my
sorry.
first answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you, TJ. That's all I was going to say.
Stop doing that, Bill.
I'm going to be an anchor for Bill. Bill?
Very nicely done. Well, you really think there's fraud in the election system? People are voting under fake names?
I go into the election booth, I claim to be Bill O'Reilly when I vote. People get a kick out of it. But
you are Bill O'Reilly. You have ID
my
and
father
everything.
said so. And I'm not trying to be a wise guy or be a partisan here. I don't see, and I never have seen, what's wrong with asking someone to show ID to prove who they are at a ballot box. There is fraud in elections. I've seen fraud personally in elections as an election inspector. I don't see how requiring an identification card is more onerous to somebody of color than it is to somebody who's lily white. I don't get it. All over the world, people show IDs. In Europe, they do it. In Canada, they do it.
Two questions. One, have you ever had personal difficulty getting an ID? I assume you've had a driver's license since you were a teenager.
I got a driver's license at 43.
At 43?
I lived in the city all these years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's this particularly pernicious on people who have a harder time getting that ID.
But you can go and get a New York State ID card reasonably easily. You apply for it and they give it to you.
This is where the inherent racism of the left comes all the way screaming to the front. This is where the left starts talking about the poor downtrodden, just not on top of things, type of minorities who you can't expect a minority, especially an aged minority, to have the wherewithal to go and get a form of identification. Now, please, it is the most offensive line that the left takes, and it's tragic. Everybody has ID. And
Dominic Carter.
Now, I was patient.
Now, just take your time.
I give you a
Dominic, this could be too much.
And now a dissenting
I've
view.
seen Dominic's license, he has ID.
I was patient.
Yes.
I let them respond.
What I said was the inherent racism of the left. Go ahead.
I let them respond, and I think I deserve a Big Boy Award for not interrupting.
Well, you lost it when you said big boy.
Okay. But now here is the reality.
Yeah.
It's almost laughable. I kid you not. If I run for office, I'm hiring both of these guys. Because I think that they will take me and turn me into a saint.
Congress.
No matter
I'm
Congress.
telling you can do it.
From the left or the right?
You go right in the middle.
Okay, from the middle. Andrew's telling me to speed it up, so I better speed it up. Andrew, the reality of the matter is, here's what happened. You have this guy called Obama. He ignites the country, black, white, Asian, Latino.
Hey, lighten it up now.
Grandma turns out to vote for the first time. Grandpa stands online for 12 hours. Young kids, black, white, Asian, Latino, that have never voted before, turn out. This guy fills stadiums with 80,000 people. And Republicans said, oh my God, we have got to stop this. I waited. If these guys can turn out the base like this, we will never win a national election. So how are we going to stop this? Let's go back in history, and let's go back to the voter ID laws, and thus you can't vote. Are we going to tie you up so long that you can't turn out and vote?
Bill, I can give you 20 seconds to respond.
If they can get into the stadium, they can get an ID card. Anybody can get an ID card. It's not. No one's more competent or less competent than the next person. It's absurd.
Okay, well, in Ohio, why would you end the week of registering to vote and voting on the same day? Why would you do that in Ohio?
Why would you do it? I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Why would you get rid of the 1 week that they had to register and vote on the same day. Why would you do that?
Well, I think people should all vote on the same day. I don't like the early votes.
I mean early
You know, I
voting.
think you should,
Excuse me, I stand corrected.
I think you should wait for all the information. Why would you vote a week or a month before somebody runs when they could be busted
Anything
for a
could
crime?
happen,
Anything
yeah.
could happen.
I got to cut the debate off.
That's just my opinion.
But I'm going to get the final word on this, which is we should be making it easier to vote, not more difficult. We should be making it more inclusive, not
Not
more
that hard.
exclusive. Quickly, odd story in Washington State on guns. Voters will have their say on two competing ballot measures. They're both on the ballot. One would expand background checks to all gun sales and transfers in the state. The other would prevent the state from doing that and not allow them to go beyond whatever the federal law is. We'll keep an eye on this as election night goes on. But my real question with all of this is about the ballot measures themselves, these voter-driven ballot measures. And we've seen them all over the country on, for example, fracking. If you wanted fracking in New York, which has been stalled in Albany, a voter-driven ballot measure could actually bring it to a decision one way or another. We've seen marijuana reform laws all across the country that have popped up because of voter-driven ballot measures. We don't have that in our region. Do you think they're a good idea or a bad idea?
Yeah, I'm really split. I'm ambivalent. They're kind of anti-small R Republican. I mean, this is a republic, not a democracy at the end of the day, where you have elected leaders that traditionally make decisions. I like the idea of initiative and referendum because I love the idea of getting out there and the people speaking and all the rest of it. But what you can end up with is like a circumstance like California, where you have people that mandate spending and then mandate no tax increases, and you get stuck in between.
You could also have problems like we saw in Kansas in 2004, which went for same-sex marriage bans as a way to sort of spur national elections. But TJ, what do you think?
I spent a lot of time. I spent 13 years in California, and I saw that whole statewide referendum thing. And so many things end up in the courts anyway. So many of these things end up being so much ado about nothing because they end up getting overturned. And like Bill said too, really, when you have the whole tax and spend, I'm split as well.
I like it for things. I'm sorry to interrupt. For
Yeah.
like things like term limits in New York, we'll never get statewide term limits for those who support term limits
Right.
without INR, without a ballot
I think that would
initiative.
pass in a heartbeat. If
I think
was
it would
on
pass
the
in a
ballot.
heartbeat.
Which
Right.
is why
Dominic,
we'll
what do you
never
think?
get it.
But it won't go through the legislature.
In the interest of time, I agree basically. See, I agree with what Bill said. I mean, in terms of
But not you, TJ, just Bill.
Well, I'm done then.
number two.
We call him corduroy.
Oh my God.
Do you think they're you brought that on yourself. Do you think they're more dangerous than we're giving them credit for? Because
What's dangerous is when you have a ballot initiative out there and the voter turnout doesn't really reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Which is the problem in California. You have the most apathetic
and no
electorate
offense,
in
I mean,
America.
Mayor de Blasio's not going to be happy with what I'm about to say, but he'll get over it. You only had 25% of the electorate, the Democratic electorate, that turned out for him in the primary. I don't think elections should be that way, where it's only a quarter of the vote.
do you think these ballot measures would increase turnout?
Absolutely not. It's almost like talking about politics to Americans. They have zero
I think most
interest.
people go
Boy,
in
did
as
we
ballot.
pick the right
Yeah.
business to go
Yeah,
into.
that's true. I know. It's great for consultants, by the way. Like ballot measures, consultants make
Right.
a fortune on
Make a
ballot measures.
ton
It's
of
states
money.
that have them.
That's good to know. That's good to know. We need a ballot measure outlawing
That could be
consultants
the
making
thing.
money on the process. We're going to take a quick break on RFL. When we come back, 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners have been announced, one of whom is the youngest prize winner in history. We're going to get into that and the impact back here at home next.